KMT pushes pension reform suspension amid heated debate. NKUST faces backlash over simplified Chinese exam, controversial titles. DPP accuses legislative speaker of constitutional violations. Tesla Cybertruck explodes outside Trump Hotel. Truck driver plows into crowd in New Orleans. National mourning after mass shooting in Montenegro. Air Canada flight makes fiery landing in Halifax. China's BYD closes in on Tesla as sales surge.
Hello, I'm Johnny. Thank you for joining us on Funday News. It's Friday, January 3rd, and here are your top stories. And for today's Taiwan news, former National Civil Servants Association head Li Lai-shi criticized pension cuts during a public hearing, urging the government to halt reforms as retired public servants face financial strain amid rising inflation. National Kaohsiung University of Science and Technology came under fire for using simplified Chinese in exams and teachers' business cards, listing Taiwan Province, China. The school will not renew the contracts of the two involved teachers next semester. The DPP criticized Legislative Speaker Han Kuo-yu for delaying the presidential announcement of election law amendments, alleging unconstitutional actions and political maneuvering favoring the KMT. A proposal to replace the speaker has been submitted. And in global news, police are investigating after a Tesla Cybertruck filled with fuel canisters and firework motors exploded outside the Trump Hotel in Las Vegas, Nevada. The driver was killed and 7 people were injured, police said, without naming any of the individuals involved. Officials stated that all injuries were minor. The truck was rented in Colorado and arrived in the city on Wednesday morning. Less than 2 hours before the detonation, parked in front of the hotel near a glass entrance, the vehicle began to smoke and then exploded.
Sheriff Kevin McMahill showed dramatic footage of the explosion and photos of the aftermath, including several fuel canisters and large fireworks in the truck bed. The truck parked directly in front of the hotel entrance and sat idle for several seconds before exploding, with bursts of multicolored fireworks shooting in multiple directions. Another video showed investigators using a black fire retardant tarp to extinguish the blaze and revealing the charred remains of the truck bed. An array of gas and fuel canisters was left behind, along with the remnants of more than a dozen firework mortars. Authorities were also investigating whether the incident might be linked to President-elect Donald Trump, who owns the hotel, or Elon Musk, who owns Tesla.
15 people were killed and 35 others injured on Bourbon Street in New Orleans, Louisiana, after a truck driver intentionally slammed into a crowd of people celebrating the new year. New Orleans coroner Dr. Dwight McKenna stated that the death toll has risen to 15. He added that the identities of all those deceased will be released in the coming days after completing the autopsies. The driver, identified by the FBI as a 42-year-old Shamsuddin Shabar, drove a Y4 pickup truck through the crowd in New Orleans.
The U.S. lead investigative agency says Jabbar exited the vehicle after hitting the crowd and opened fire on local law enforcement. After a brief gunfight, the attacker was shot dead and pronounced deceased. Jabbar also injured 2 police officers who sustained gunshot wounds, but they are in stable condition. Officials stated that he was determined to cause the carnage and damage that occurred, adding that his behavior was clearly intentional. The FBI says it is investigating the attack as an act of terrorism and is working with partners at the local, state, and federal levels to run down all leads and identify any possible associates of the subject. U.S. President Joe Biden stated that the attack appears to have been inspired by the ISIS terror group.
A gunman shot dead at least 10 people, including 2 children, in southern Montenegro on Wednesday. According to a police official quoted by public broadcaster RTCG, at least some of the deaths occurred inside in a restaurant in the Cetinje area following a verbal argument between guests. It was later confirmed that the attacker had taken his own life. The government has declared 3 days of national mourning starting Thursday, with the Prime Minister describing the shooting as a terrible tragedy.
The attacker, identified as Alexander Martinovich, 45, fled the scene but later fatally injured himself after being surrounded by police who had asked him to drop his weapon. According to Interior Minister Danilo Saranovic, the gunman killed members of his own family, 2 of the restaurant owner's children, and the owner. Mr. Saranovic described the incident as a consequence of disturbed interpersonal relations. 4 people are in life-threatening condition in the hospital after being seriously wounded in the shooting. Mass shootings are comparatively rare in the small Balkan nation. Montenegrin authorities will consider all options to prevent further gun-related incidents, including a countrywide weapons ban.
An Air Canada Express flight with 73 passengers aboard was evacuated on the runway upon landing at Halifax Stanfield International Airport in Nova Scotia due to a suspected problem with its landing gear. No passenger or crew injuries were reported. Bystander videos show the twin-engine propeller Bombardier Q400 aircraft lying partially on its belly with its wings tilted to one side as passengers, including several children, were evacuated, with voices heard urging them to get away from the airplane.
Emergency vehicles were then seen dousing the aircraft with what appeared to be water. Air Canada Express Flight AC2259, operated by the regional Canadian carrier PAL Airlines, originated in St. John's, Newfoundland, and was scheduled to land at Halifax Stanfield International Airport. The airline stated that the flight crew experienced a suspected landing gear issue after arrival at Stanfield International Airport. It added, as a result, the aircraft was unable to reach the terminal, and customers were offloaded using a bus. There were no injuries reported. However, we appreciate this incident was unsettling for customers, and we remain available to assist them. The cause of the incident is under investigation by the Transportation Safety Board, TSB, of Canada.
Chinese car maker BYD saw its sales surge at the end of last year as it competed with Tesla to become the world's best-selling electric vehicle maker of 2024. The company reported selling over 200,000 EVs in December, bringing its annual total to 1.76 million, with subsidies and discounts helping attract customers. Meanwhile, Tesla is expected to announce its quarterly sales figures later on Thursday. The U.S. electric car maker narrowly led EV sales over BYD last quarter, with the Shenzhen-based firm closing the gap.
BYD's total vehicle sales rose more than 41% year-on-year in 2024, driven primarily by its hybrid car sales. The company has benefited from increased car sales in its home market, where intense competition has lowered prices, and government subsidies have encouraged consumers to replace old cars with EVs or more fuel-efficient options. BYD sells 90% of its cars in China, where it's been extending its lead over foreign brands like Volkswagen and Toyota. The rise of BYD and other Chinese EV makers contrasts with the struggles of some legacy car makers in major Western markets. Last month, Honda and Nissan confirmed they were holding merger talks as the 2 Japanese firms aim to counter competition from the Chinese car industry.
The answer for yesterday was B, upend. The strong winds upend the boat, causing it to capsize. Did you answer correctly? Now let's delve into today's news. Tesla's Cybertruck explodes outside Trump Hotel. Number 1, detonation. 爆炸. The detonation of the explosives caused widespread damage to the surrounding buildings. Number 2, canister. 罐桶. The soldiers carried tear gas canisters to disperse the crowd. Number 3, extinguish. 熄灭,扑灭. The firefighters worked hard to extinguish the forest fire before it spread further. Next, we have a multiple choice question for everyone to practice. Which answer would you choose? You can write your answer in the comments section. The correct answer will be announced next week. And that's all for today's Funday News. Be sure to tune in to Funday News from Monday to Friday and click the link below to join Funday for free. I'm Johnny Wu, your host. I'll see you next time.